This is Todd Troup from Mystic Skills University. I'd like to introduce you to Ron Brumbarger. Ron is the CEO of Bitwise Solutions, the founder of Apprentice University, and also the author of the book, You're Always Being Interviewed, How to Be Intentionally Extraordinary. Morning, Ron. How are you?
Todd, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, thank you. So first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about Apprentice University?
Sure. Apprentice University is a competency college, so we prepare future leaders and talent for careers in the high demand fields of business, technology, and entrepreneurship. The careers that we have some labels today, and some of the careers that we don't really have titles for yet because they haven't been invented. And so we're preparing the agile-minded student for those types of career opportunities.
Interesting. Okay. So Ron, my students are here to learn about what it takes to navigate the business waters and learn that now instead of when they enter the workforce.
Right.
Start using those skills now. Your book, and again I introduced it earlier, it's full of great stories of both people who nailed it and those who missed the boat.
Yeah.
So let's start out with the term knuckleheads. Tell us more about what's a knucklehead.
Well, knucklehead is like you said, people that missed the boat, people who had a great opportunity before them and bountiful solutions that they could have, they had a great opportunity before them and they simply blew it.
Okay.
They showed up late for an interview, incorrect text messaging,
Okay.
resumes that didn't work,
Yeah.
so forth and so on. So these are the people that we use as stories to juxtapose those who did it right. Those that did it with excellence and elegance.
As opposed to those who did it with excellence. That was
There
going
you
to be
go.
my next thing. Okay. So very good. And we'll talk about some of those as we talk here. So your book has a subtitle of Intentionally Extraordinary, which you can juxtapose that against intentionally mediocre. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, so the idea is that we should strive to do our best in everything that we do.
Okay.
The alternative is just that. I'm just going to kind of do it halfway. Right? Well, who would want to be associated with somebody who's known for just kind of doing it halfway?
Right.
So we want to be intentionally extraordinary. It's what we're called to do. It's how we should think, and it's how that mindset of being a leader in an organization should be set.
Right. And I think with your book being called You're Always Being Interviewed, somebody's always watching. So you bring your A game, somebody's watching that just as much as if you bring your C game, somebody's going to see that too.
Absolutely. And by the way, this isn't just for students. This is yesterday evening I was giving a talk to about 30 students at a campus here in Indianapolis. And even though I was the one speaking, I'm interviewing them passively, but conversely, they're interviewing me. They're forming opinions about me. Your students are forming opinions about us as they watch this video.
Right.
So we are always on stage. We are always on. So it's not just when you're sitting across the table from someone interviewing. It's all the time.
So why bring your C game?
Why bring your C game? You know, the best quote in the book is from Gilligan's Island. If you remember this quote, Gilligan's always in peril.
Yeah.
And the professor says to Gilligan, Gilligan, when you least expect it, expect it.
Yeah.
And that's the point, is that you are always on. So why play the game of mediocrity?
Right. Okay, cool. Love this term. So I'm going to ask you the one term and then juxtapose it against. So it's relational capital versus skunk chunking.
Skunk chunking. So we're friends.
Yep.
And we've been friends for some time now.
Yep.
And we have a lot of respect, I think. Well, at least I respect you. A
Vice
lot of
versa.
mutual respect.
Right.
So if you sent me a resume, if you knew I was looking for a person to fill this type of position, and you sent me a resume, or you just sent me a resume from somebody that you happen to be impressed with, they're going to receive the relational capital balance we have between one another, which is pretty full, right? So let's say it's 100 between us today, and 100's maxed out, and you make that referral. They show up with a backpack at about 98, right? A little doubt, right? A little doubt, but they show up at a 98. And so they're already predisposed to have earned that respect that we have for one another. Right. Conversely, skunk chunking is you send me a referral having not met the person or not someone that you vetted in this case, and they show up and they're poorly dressed, like Elliot. They show up, they're poorly dressed, they're clueless about the conversation. Or it's a phone call and they're using their speakerphone on their iPhone on the other end and you can't hear them and they're eating and you think, Todd, what are you doing? Man, I thought you liked me. I thought we were friends, right? So vastly different perspective, but the key element to this is that that person that you referred represents you.
Yes.
They represent you, and so you want to make sure that they've got their A game on. They're intentionally extraordinary.
Right.
Otherwise, it damages our relationship passively as a result of that.
Right. And your willingness to take on another referral is going to be a little bit lower the next time.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
okay. So bring your A game.
Bring your A game.
Okay. So here's a question I love that we talk about in the book, or you talk about in the book: continuous learning, a learning disposition, and humility. They kind of all work together in a
Yeah,
triangle.
kind of weave them together a little bit.
Right.
The concept is this: the person that you encounter that has that smug look like this, right? That you just think, good grief, what's with this guy?
Yeah.
He's probably not really in what we call a learning disposition.
Right.
He's not ready to receive ideas,
Right.
to sharpen each other's concepts and so forth. And so the concept of a learning disposition is that it starts with humility. And with humility, we can drop our barriers. It enables us to see blind spots that we might not have otherwise seen.
Right.
Otherwise, we've got all the answers. Why be there?
Right.
Right? Just listen to me and I'll tell you exactly what to do next.
Right.
So the idea of a learning disposition encourages us to be constantly learning, constantly evaluating new knowledge, bringing new inputs into everything that we do,
Okay.
and being open-minded.
Yeah.
No one wants to deal with a person that has every answer to every question before it's even asked.
Right. Which brings me to Jared. Right.
Yeah.
He's one of the characters in your book.
Page 7.
Page 7. So let's talk about Jared.
Sure. So Jared shows up at a board meeting, and the rule of thumb in a nonprofit board is you need to spend about 3 or 4 months on that board, just kind of gathering the facts and the lay of the land of how the organization works before you start trying to interject any, changes to the
Opinions.
program and opinions, right? Month 3, you're kind of on the edge, but month 4, yeah, it's fair game. First meeting, 30 minutes, Jared leans back in his chair. You're doing this all wrong. It's bobbing his head back and forth, looking down his nose at us. Our group had been together a long time,
Right.
and we'd solved a lot of problems together, as I talk about in the book. And my buddy's sitting next to him. I look across the table at him, and my friend's just got this disdain on his face. I'm pretty sure he made a fist. I'm pretty sure he's ready to backhand Jared at the moment. But had this look of disdain, like, how could we have possibly done this?
Yeah.
So to this day, that is still a rough spot in that organization.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk about our young adults today. It's the groups that we're trying to reach, because some of them are very quality people, and some of them have quite honestly missed the boat. Somebody failed them. So we talk a little bit about the trends we see in young adults today and what's keeping them from even getting to the interview.
Well, first off, get up, dress up, show up, right?
Okay.
The 3 things that are so critical, and show up a few minutes early. No reason to be late for an interview. Circumstances occur, but the things that keep students from getting from interviews or young people from getting to an interview today aren't necessarily just the interview moment itself.
Right.
It's social media.
Right.
It's what did you post on your Facebook
Okay.
page? What were you thinking? We fired a young man here for Bitwise several years ago for posting pictures that were inappropriate with his girlfriend on Facebook and Instagram. So that's a big one, is a failure in the social media space. And secondly, it's just having a very poor presentation of themselves, either in a resume or through the referrals that come through, or any and all the above.
Okay. So social media is, obviously it could be a great benefit, but it can also be a trap. And with all the avenues that a person has to learn about you, there's LinkedIn, your resume's out there, there's your Facebook page, and we have something, or you have something in the book that you call a talent spotter. So you're always looking for talent, but before somebody even comes to the interview, you have avenues of research that you can go down on social media. And sometimes you find that sometimes the resume doesn't quite match some of these other avenues. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I talk about a lot of stories where someone's resume said this, and you just do a couple searches, and all of a sudden you think, whoa, time out, right? I'm going to call your previous employers. If I'm going to spend a bunch of money on you each year, I'm going to call your previous employers. Sometimes I know them, And I'm going to get a straight answer, as I talk about with Charlotte in the book.
Right.
I'm going to get a straight answer. I may not get it at the moment I need it, but I'm going to get it, and I'm going to get it in, at the time to make an educated decision. So yeah, when you show up for an interview here, I'm going to know a whole lot about you,
Right.
much more so than you've ever fathomed.
Right.
And it's nothing illegal. Just
Right.
I'm going to be diligent about my search.
Right, right.
Because especially in a small company, you bring somebody in that negatively impacts the culture.
Right.
It takes years to dig out from that.
Right.
Years.
Yeah.
No fun.
And people would be surprised. I mean, for our students, we're here in Indianapolis.
Mhm.
Indianapolis is a town of 800,000 to 1 million people, which seems like a big town, but really, it's not that big of a town.
Yeah.
And it's surprising as you go from place to place and in your work environment, how many people you actually know.
Yes.
And that goes a long way to, watching your P's and Q's about what you say and what you do and bringing your A game to all those places.
So Todd, the story in the book I talk about is the network, right?
Yeah.
And that I can lob a query out on the network, and usually same day I've got all the facts I ever wanted to know about
Yeah.
somebody back, just like that.
Right.
But there's a quote in the book that says, from Mayberry to Manhattan, every city's a small town.
Right.
And it's true. You're right. Within a few hours, I can know a whole lot about everybody I'm going to interview.
Right.
It just doesn't take very long.
Okay, great. I'm going to talk about two people, or ask you to talk about two
Okay.
people, and they juxtapose each other quite well. Elliot
Elliot.
versus Kate.
Kate, sure. Oh my goodness, what a contrast.
Yeah.
Bookends, right?
Yeah,
So, Elliot's a young man that shows up here for an interview. I thought at first when he showed up it was the Jimmy John's guy, and then I realized no, Jimmy John's drivers dress better than this. Elliot shows
Wow.
up in shorts, t-shirt, unlaced tennis shoes, and soaking wet hair. And his resume's in a tube. He rolled it up,
Yeah.
and he's standing right over here by our front door. And I greeted him, happened to be at the front, and I said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "I'm here for an interview with Scott." Now, the proper response would have been Mr. Workman,
Right.
proper respectful term. And I said, "Okay." I said, "Did you just learn of this interview,
Right.
or did your car break down and you ran here, or what happened?" And he said, "No, it's been scheduled for a week, and I just had the morning. I played ball with my friends and figured I'd come over here for the interview."
Wow.
I said, "You didn't shower?" "Yeah, well, I figured it's a technology company. You can be casual." I said, "No,
Yeah.
you're done. You're not interviewing with Mr. Workman. Move on." Who didn't tell him?
How to show
Who
up.
failed this? Who
Right.
failed this guy? He's 23.
Right.
He had a degree. Who failed him?
Right.
Right? Juxtaposed to Kate. Kate's put together, young mom, and 3 beautiful little girls, neat family. Kate's at an event that I'm at, and it's spring of last year, and Kate asked me, "What are you working on this summer? What are you doing this summer?" I said, "I'm writing a book." And I said, "The title is You're Always Being Interviewed." And after a little conversation, I noticed Kate was kind of rolling her toes up under the bench where she was sitting, and she had flip-flops on. And I said, "Kate, what are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I was rushing out the door. I had flats sitting by the back door, and I just, by habit, the girls were arguing, and by habit, I put on my flip-flops. And I don't want you to see my toes. They haven't been painted."
But this is just a social event, right?
It's just a social event. It's
Right.
not an interview. But Kate is always ready.
Right.
Kate's A game is all the time.
And she's aware.
And she's very aware. So the
Right.
fact that her toes weren't painted and she had flip-flops on, she was extremely self-conscious. So the story rather, is don't fidget, right? We're friends, we're hanging out, we're watching a football game. We're not interviewing each other, right? We're just hanging out. So the
Right.
point is not to fidget in certain circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's some great tips, Ron, and
Sure.
a great review of your book. We're going to use it at Missing Skills University for a module to talk about how to be ready and how to develop those skills that you may have missed the boat on.
Mhm.
So let's give a couple plugs here. So Ron, Apprentice University. We can find more information at
ApprenticeU.com
Okay.
or apprentice.university, either
Okay.
way.
And I believe, and we'll show the book here once more, this is You're Always Being Interviewed, How to Be Intentionally Extraordinary.
Yep.
And you have a website for that?
Yep, you'realwaysbeinginterviewed.com. And you can also buy it on Amazon. You can
Okay.
search for the title on Amazon.
Okay. And Missing Skills University. You can find more on us at missingskillsu.com. And Ron, thank you so much
Absolutely,
for your time
Todd.
today.
It's my pleasure.
All right.
Thanks for using our book.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's great. It's a great tool.